Welcome to FitBody Lifestyle, the show where we dive deep into the world of fitness, health, business, relationships, and the art of living a balanced life. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Greg, and we're here to give you the benefit of our experiences in the fitness and bodybuilding industry, the corporate world, running a business, personal development, and building healthy relationships.
Whether you're sweating it out in the gym, hustling in your business, or seeking balance in your everyday life, you're in the right place.
So lace up those sneakers and grab that water bottle, and let's get ready to transform our minds, our bodies, and our lives. We are very happy. Well, first of all, this is Jamie and Greg, which you already know that. But we are joined by a very special guest today, Emme Diane. And Emme, say hi to
Hello.
And she's our special guest today to talk about skincare. We're going to talk about a very, very important topic, which is acne, which is very, I wouldn't say very, but it's prevalent enough in the bodybuilding community that we want to address that. And that's why we wanted to devote a full episode with the right person to kind of walk us through. Emme, before we do, let's start with your check-in word for this conversation.
Oh. I would say I am pumped because I love talking about all things acne. So I am pumped.
Only Emme.
Yes, I know.
You know that I don't think I've ever seen the word pumped appear as a check-in word. So
It should have been.
I think excited I've seen. I've seen passionate. But
I love that.
I've
You've
loved
uncovered
pumped.
a new
Yeah,
way.
you just broke ground on something.
Well,
I
I'm
love
going
it.
to pump you
Yeah,
up.
there you go.
Yes.
Pump you up.
Emme, tell everybody listening or watching a little bit about you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Emme, and I'm an esthetician by trade. Been an esthetician now for about 25 years, and time keeps going by. So what I used to say is not true anymore. But in 2012, so 13 years ago, I started my own business where I would see clients for facials. But I had such an affinity for anyone who struggled with their skin because I struggled with my skin since I was like 11 years old. And so it was at that time I started formulating Emme Diane skincare to really help clients with like the most unsolvable skin concerns, getting real solutions like for the first time in their lives. So that's really how it kind of came about, was solving a problem that I had myself and then being able to share that with others.
I can only imagine how rewarding and how it must feel like when you help somebody solve something like that. Because I know like how it can affect self-esteem, how it can just like really be detrimental to like somebody's mindset when they don't feel good about their skin. I mean, it's the first thing people see when they see you. So I can imagine.
Yeah. Oh gosh. I mean, the stories over the years have been, they make me tear up even now just thinking about it because of how, the skin, it impacts all of your life. Like it impacts, what people believe that they can do in their life. One of my clients, and this is kind of fitness related, but she was so excited to become a fitness trainer, and she went to a gym and applied for this position, and it was a coveted position, and they straight up told her, no, your skin is terrible. We would never let somebody work here who looks like you. And that's when I met her and was able to help her with her skin. And I don't know that she ever went back to them, but now she's actually a celebrity fitness trainer, and she's amazing and beautiful. And so I love sharing her story for sure because, sometimes it can be very overt the way that people can treat you about your skin in her circumstance, but a lot of times it's, it's an internal thing. It really can impact people in a great way, and all the way down to, severe depression or, I remember I didn't want to go to school most of the time when my skin was really bad. It's when we talk about skincare, a lot of times people think of it as like, oh, it's fun. It's a vanity thing, like and for me, it's like way more than skin deep because it just absolutely impacts how somebody sees themselves, their identity, how they show up in this world. And, I guess it's my life's mission. I want to help as many people who struggle as I can, but I want them to feel empowered in their skin too, knowing that they have a tangible solution that's going to work for them. So.
Yeah, we see what I would say the analogy is when we're talking about, and you know this because Emmy was also a competitor, so you know this from that side of the house, is that when you're on stage, the suit you wear, the color that suit is, how your makeup and glam is, the jewelry, the accessories, the shoes, all that goes into how you feel about yourself. And how you feel about yourself translates to how you present, how the judges view you, how you're scored. And so you take that over to this area that is just your skin, not just your skin, it's your skin. And that's a everyday thing. It's something that you wake up with, it's something that you go to sleep with, it's something that's going to be the first thing that people see. And, you know, during the days of COVID, and I was in the corporate world, I just always remember there was a lot of people that were on Zoom that just didn't turn their camera on, and particularly because they had not gone through all the prep and stuff. When you're going into the office and you get into that routine, I think about all the routines that were destroyed during COVID because people didn't have to worry about those things, or they didn't think they had to worry about them. And I wonder if we set skincare back a full, you know, period of time because people just didn't take as good a care of themselves.
Yeah, I mean, it's very possible. I think there's people who did the extreme and did all the things, and then there's people who kind of, you know, you just kind of get out of the
If
habit
nobody's
or
going
the
to see me,
routine.
what difference does it matter, right?
Yeah. That makes me think about this study that I read, and it was so interesting because so it was all about grooming habits and how animals will groom themselves or they'll groom each other, because what it does is it gives them a little dopamine hit. So every time they groom themselves, or like my little dog Scout loves to clean out Gatsby's ears, my bigger dog, and it's like disgusting and it's crazy, but like you can tell they're both just so happy by it. So they're getting a little dopamine hit. And so what happens for us as humans, and this, you know, think about like if you're feeling crappy and you go take a shower, and just even getting out of the shower and feeling fresh, you feel better, you get a dopamine hit. And so what happens for people who are dealing with acne is that they go through the whole process of grooming themselves, treating their skin, even like doing all the things, and they look in the mirror and they still have the acne, and they don't get that dopamine hit. So there's actually like a real link between mental health issues and skin issues, because you know, they don't see themselves, they're not having that same experience that the rest of the world does.
And I was going to tell I'm going to join on with you and tell you that in the military, one of the things as a commanding officer that we were trained to look for is soldiers who left their personal care unkempt. They didn't shave, they didn't wash, their, you know, whatever, their uniform was askew, that whatever. These were things that and from a disciplinary point of view was a disciplinary thing, but unit integrity and unit discipline. But from a mental health perspective, which is where it then started to translate as we were dealing with more and more soldiers with PTSD and those things, is that these became markers that somebody was struggling with something, because the first thing that goes is their personal care, their personal hygiene. So I love that you drew that connection, and I can totally understand, because there is I've noticed it that from work at home, is that if I spend that 5 minutes in the morning or 10 minutes or whatever it is, just getting, you know, personal care and washing my face and cleansing and moisturizing, and now applying my sunscreen after you admonished me earlier, which is good. I do notice, yeah. Well, and it's a good thing, and I know it's built out of love, and I do notice that difference in how my attitude is for the day.
Totally, yeah. So imagine if you're, you know, doing the same thing and you're getting no result, or like the skin's getting worse, and you're just like, oh, you know, and it starts to take a toll, even, you know, for the strongest person, you know, it does take a toll over time. So the tricky thing for me is, you know, I sometimes see people out in the world maybe that are struggling with their skin, and I would never, ever walk up to any of them to say, hey, I can get with that.
There's no way to break into that conversation.
No, no. You know, I just try and be out there as, you know, get information out there as much as I can, and hopefully that, you know, crosses their path, and, you know, have them come for help, you know. But yeah, it's such a tricky thing, and
it's a sensitive thing.
It really is. Yeah. So, but it's definitely way more than skin deep, and it's way more than just, you know, the fun, fluffy world of facials and skincare. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Well, and I think there's a lot of confusing information out there too. And especially now, because we're getting bombarded with, and a lot of it's, marketing and all these different things, and everything's the next answer. So, so when somebody does come to you and they're suffering from some skin issues, how do you start to kind of break it down and discover, where it's coming from so that you can figure out like what's the best way forward?
Yeah. So, I mean, it really comes down to troubleshooting the skin, like what's going on for the person. If someone were to come in person to our Scottsdale office and meet with our esthetician, she would go through a very long, detailed consultation talking about tell us your skin story. When did this start for you? How long has it been going on? What are the products that you're currently using? Also, what makeup are you using? What hair care are you using? Diet, we go into great detail about. Also, any kind of supplements that you're taking, any like birth control or hormone supplements as well. Sweat is another factor for the skin. So we really run the full gamut of troubleshooting the skin from start to finish, because it's funny because acne is actually really simple to treat. It's so multifaceted because there's a lot of outside factors that affect the skin that don't affect normal people. And I call these outside factors triggers. And the way that I explain it is that, makeup can be very pore clogging. Most makeup is. So if let's say that your friend who is not acne prone uses this makeup and they don't break out, well, they're very blessed and I hate them. But, but then, let's say that she's like, hey, use this makeup, it won't break you out. And then you do, well, that's a trigger. And so it's the triggers aren't going to affect the people that aren't acne prone. So maybe that's a good place to start is when I say acne prone, what does that mean? So basically the root cause of acne is that it's an inherited condition. And what it is it all starts in our pore. So we think of our pore as like a hole in the skin. And just like how we shed dead skin cells off the top of the skin, we also shed dead skin cells within the lining of each pore. And each pore has its own little oil gland and sweat gland. And among the other jobs that it has, it actually creates this self-cleaning or flushing process that cleans out all those dead skin cells and then any dirt, debris, makeup, bacteria, whatever's in there. So our pores are like self-cleaning vessels. They know how to self-clean on their own. So the thing is that somebody who is acne prone, we have pores that malfunction. So a normal person with normal pores, they shed one layer of dead skin cells every day. The oil and sweat pushes it up and out. And these would be like my friends who never wash their faces and they never break out. And again, I hate them. So the genetic defect or what the malfunction is that someone who's acne prone, we hyper shed dead skin cells within the lining of each pore. So we shed 5 layers or more a day, and that's too heavy or dense for the oil and sweat to push up and out. So instead of cleaning it out, the oil becomes very sticky, like glue, and it binds all the dead skin cells together. And this creates a little mini clog in the pore. And this is the beginning of a breakout. So that's how acne forms. And what's crazy about this is that when it first forms, it's not something you can see or feel because it's so microscopic, but it takes about 90 days to turn into something you can see or feel. So even though most people feel like breakouts pop up overnight, they'd actually been brewing there for quite a while. So for example, when someone comes to me to get clear, I tell them it takes us about 90 days to get you clear because it takes about 90 days for acne to form. And you'll get, better and better results over time. But typically that's about the length of time it takes to fully clear the skin and stuff. Wow. So yeah, so that's what causes acne. A lot of people find it interesting. I haven't even mentioned bacteria yet, which, most people think of acne as bacteria. Bacteria does play a role, but the interesting thing is that we all have acne bacteria on our skin and we all have the same amount. Doesn't matter if you're acne prone or not. What matters is that if you have that pore that has that clog down in it, the acne bacteria, it's anaerobic, so it likes to be in an environment with no oxygen. So it likes to snuggle underneath that little clog, and down there is its food source, our oil. So it sits down there, eats the oil, and then grows into a cesspool of nastiness. So that's why bacteria does play a role if you are acne prone. But if you're not and your pores are cleaning themselves out daily, it doesn't matter if bacteria gets down in there because it gets flushed out daily. Does that make sense?
Totally. And I didn't know that. So I'm curious. So I know that a lot of times people are like, think that maybe they broke out because of stress or because of hormones or whatever. So is that like where that's sitting there, it's already kind of been brewing, but then it gets more like it's kind of.
Totally. Such a good question. So yeah, I like to say all all acne is hormonal because hormones are really the catalyst to turn it on. And then hopefully we go through a die out phase at some point in our life. So for like men and boys, they tend to go through puberty and then like their testosterone's raging and they get acne. But then most men and boys, when they turn like early 20s, they go through a die out phase where they just don't break out much anymore. And again, that has to do with their hormones. For women, our hormones fluctuate about 7 times throughout our lifetime, not to mention throughout the month.
Right.
So it's
We're
kind
on
of
the
crazy.
roller coaster.
Yeah, totally. So hormones kind of are the catalyst to turn on this genetic defect and stuff like that. But like if we're talking about that time of the month, we do start to produce more testosterone at a certain time of the month. And that is what affects our oil production, which again is that food for the acne bacteria and can lead to more clogging of the pores. So absolutely, that can be a trigger. So hormones can be a trigger. Stress can be a trigger because cortisol has this trickle down effect where it does start to affect our other hormones and it can cause breakouts. Foods, like I mentioned earlier, those can be triggers for people. All sorts of things. And so that's why it's really important to kind of uncover what all the different triggers are for somebody in order to make the most impact. And also, I think I tell people, once you uncover your triggers and you kind of get it all dialed in, it feels like magic. And then if things come undone a little bit, it's like, okay, well, let's go back to the basics and see what slipped back in. Oh, I'm having dairy again. Okay, well, let's cut that back out. And it's usually like clockwork. They're back on track. So
I think when you said earlier, you said something that acne is easy to solve.
It is.
It is easy to solve if you know what the cause is.
If you know what the triggers are.
Triggers, I mean.
Yeah.
I should say trigger.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the challenge is figuring then the detective work to figure out what's causing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I wouldn't even say it's such a challenge. It's more of, the person, being honest, number one, and then being willing to make the changes. I think that's the biggest thing is, as much as, I'm very much a let them type person, let people do what they're going to do. Yeah. When it comes to acne, I am kind of vigilant because I know that if say, for example, if you say cut out eating all of the acne triggering foods, but you decided to keep wearing the pore clogging makeup, are you going to clear? No. So I have to be really...
You can't just do one piece. You got to do it all.
Totally. Or I'll have clients come to me and they say, well, yeah, I cut out dairy for a month before and it did nothing. And, it's like, well, that...
But you cut out dairy, but you did these other 3 things
exactly.
that were triggering it. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And so that's why it's so important to dial in all of it together. And then it's magic. It's truly magic. But the same is true for you guys with, what you do in training competitors. It's
thing.
Guess what? Yeah. Follow your plan and it's like magic. I remember those days.
Absolutely.
If you hit your macros, but your sodium is off the chart, then we're going to have an impact on that.
Exactly.
And as you say, and it's so important, is that I think of the food triggering, and if you haven't turned in the Fusion Hack, then you'll see that. But some people are just unwilling to eliminate certain foods from their diet. And if they're unwilling to eliminate those foods, well, you're not going to address the root cause. And if we're not addressing the root cause, then you're only going to go to a certain level with whatever improvements you're going to get.
Totally, yeah. And don't get me wrong, I'm still very nice about it. I will meet people wherever they're at, but I won't sugarcoat it. I'll be instead of 95% clear, maybe we'll get you 65, 75%. If that's good for you, then that's great.
Sure.
Let's do it, And
I don't think you need to be harsh when you're delivering that. I just think, because at the end of the day, people are going to do what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And I always joke about how many psychologists does it take to change a light bulb? And the answer is none, because the light bulb has to want to change. So it's the truth with people is that if somebody's unwilling to change, they won't change.
True.
And sometimes those changes involve it's like you've changed me today in my application of sunscreen. So that's now going to be a habit of mine. And I also know that I have to set myself up for success on that. I have to put the sunscreen out on my counter. I can't put it in the cabinet where I know it is. I have to put it out. I have to make that part of a daily ritual. I don't have to, excuse me. I get to. If you're not paying attention, that's a subtle word shift that really makes a big difference in your life. If you think you have to do things, nobody's holding the gun to my head. Jamie will admonish me, but she's not even she's going to treat me like an adult. These are my choices. And that means I have the power to do them. So when I put myself in the mindset of I get to do these things, then it becomes something that I'm allowing myself and something that I'm empowering myself. And that power gives me the power, the greatest power of all, which is the power of choice. And so if I choose to make a difference, then I get to do things. I don't have to do things.
Totally. Yeah. And my favorite thing is when clients will come to me and they're like, my skin's breaking out again. And it's like, okay, great. What's been going on? And they like list off like, well, I've had this, and this. And I'm like, awesome. Like, you know, your triggers, you know what to do. Like, that's incredible, you know? And so it's like, even though we're all human and we're going to fall off, you know, the wagon every now and then, of course, it's like being empowered with the knowledge of like, what is it that's causing this, or what do I need to do to turn it around is everything, you know? So that's my hope for all of my clients, is to make sure that they become, acne experts themselves, so that they don't always need me. Like, I'm always available, but they don't always need me, because it's really that simple.
Yeah, every day they're at choice and choosing whether or not they're going to make sure that they're falling in line. So I did have I was curious because, you know, obviously we're very much into optimizing the hormones and making sure, you know, and obviously, you know, with our menopausal, premenopausal, you know, I fall into this category, you know, like wanting to make sure we're optimizing hormones. How have you seen, or what is your impression like on ladies that you have that are using hormone replacement therapy for these types of things?
Well, okay, so I have to like talk carefully about this kind of thing because I'm not a doctor at all. So I always recommend like somebody seeing a professional. I think what's happening a lot lately is it seems like everyone has a hormone imbalance, you know, which may be true, but also it may not be true, just because, like we talked about earlier, it's like women go through hormone fluctuations throughout the month and everything. So I always recommend, like, if you think something's going on with your hormones, to go get tested by a specialist. And I prefer to work with a naturopath who specializes in hormones, because naturopaths tend to deal in optimal ranges instead of like normal ranges. Like Western medicine, like normal ranges for the average American is terrible.
Yeah.
And so dealing with someone who really like hones it in, because I've had so many clients who have hormonal stuff going on and they go to like their regular doctor and like, oh, you're in the normal range, but they still feel like something's wrong. So I think getting that dialed in is super important. But also there are so many supplements that are sold over the counter now for hormone balancing. And this drives me so crazy, because the assumption then is that, number one, that there's one hormone imbalance that's possible, which is actually not true. The second is that you know what your hormone imbalance is, which you may not.
Right.
And so this is why I think it is so important to go work with somebody to make sure that you get dialed in. I personally have worked with like a naturopath for my hormones for quite a while. I'm actually already in menopause, believe it or not. I'm 45. I'm an early bird. But I personally, for my health, I do use bioidentical hormones because for me, the risk of, you know, like the heart disease or osteoporosis and all of that kind of stuff is something that I want to be concerned about, even though my mom had estrogen receptive breast cancer. So it's something that I personally do. And I think working with somebody who is like got you really dialed in is the key there for sure.
Yeah,
So,
and I was just thinking that it may be one hormone that's out of whack. But the problem is that one hormone doesn't operate independently.
Nope.
It operates in conjunction with the other hormones in your body. So you correct that one with a supplement over the counter, which I don't know how the efficacy of all those. But you correct one hormone and then it puts the other two out of whack, and so you're not optimized. So if you're not working with a qualified professional on those things in terms of optimization, then you may be robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Totally.
Well, and I love that you brought that up, the over-the-counter stuff, because that drives me crazy too. And people are always like throwing more and more in, and then the hard thing too is you don't know what's affecting what, and so like having that baseline of blood work, which we talk a lot about, is really important. I think about like DIM, for example, like if you are estrogen dominant, that could be great, but if a lot of people aren't, and especially if they're getting close to menopause, in a lot of cases, they might actually be low, and having low estrogen can cause a lot of other issues. So it's like you go buy that over the counter thinking, oh, this is a really great supplement. I've heard about it. So-and-so liked it. Well, it may not be right for me. So I love that you brought that up. But from the skincare perspective, then if people are doing because I also do the bioidenticals and I love it, and I feel like it's just been huge for me, and just feeling good and everything else. But it shouldn't affect skincare if they're going through their healthcare professional and keeping their ranges optimal and that kind of thing.
Yes. And here's what I will say. So that's the other reason I say seeing somebody who is got them really dialed in, because a lot of women will start taking testosterone, which there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is that when it starts converting to DHT, that is when the hormonal acne starts to become a big issue. So for some women who are taking testosterone, then they would need to take something to like block it from converting. But that's not like running the tests on all of that, all the hormones, how it's converting, what's, all of these things. It's like you were talking about. I mean, it is such a crazy, wild science and it's not interdependent on itself. It ripples out. It affects everything.
It's an ecosystem.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I think that the other thing people don't realize too is that cortisol is a hormone. Our thyroid's a hormone. And those also then impact like the traditional hormones we think of, like testosterone, estrogen, 100%. All of that. So, having all of that dialed in is so important, because I've had clients who, it had been more of a thyroid issue, but they hadn't realized that and have been dealing with like lots of hormonal acne. And so once we got that figured out, we were able to get back on track, which was really good. So don't overestimate the power of hormones. And then, again, this is not an area where you want to self-diagnose and self-treat for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
No, that's great. That's great advice.
Interested in changing your life or stepping on stage? Join FitBody Fusion today.
Experience the FitBody Fusion difference with tools, knowledge, and community support to reach your healthy and sustainable lifestyle.
We guide thousands on their fitness journeys, from seasoned athletes to those who are simply seeking a healthier life.
Our expert coaches provide personalized plans and unwavering support, empowering you to thrive.
FitBody Fusion is more than just training. It's a community. We understand the challenges of solo fitness journeys, which is why we foster a supportive environment where members encourage and motivate each other.
Join the FitBody Fusion community today and unlock your full potential.
Head to fitbodyfusion.com to sign up for a free consultation.
And do it today.
So you go through and you do the rundown to really kind of identify what the potential triggers are. And then once you identify those, then that's then the instructions going forward for that person. Watch out for these certain types of food or these types of activities. What else do you recommend, or how else do you have them approach going forward to get that all cleared up? I know everybody wants to buy the products to...
Yeah. It's funny because I guess products will be the last thing I mention, but basically, I try to make things as easy as I can for clients. So, I think the biggest factor that triggers acne is what we put on our skin. So that can be our skincare products. That is also makeup, which we have an acne safe makeup list resource on our website that's continuously updated. So we try and keep it updated as much as possible.
And it's emmediane.com.
Yep. It's under resources.
And by the way, EMMEDIANE.com.
Yep.
Right. Okay. And we'll do that at the end just in case. But
yes, totally. It's great to even like bookmark it on your phone. So if you're going to like Sephora or whatever, you can just pull it up really fast to like see what's on there. And like I was saying, though, products are such a big one, and it's it's so hard when you are acne prone because there are marketing terms out there like non-comedogenic, or it's like for acne. And you would believe then that these products would actually not break you out. They would not have pore clogging ingredients, but 8 times out of 10, they still do. And this drives me crazy. But the truth is that there's no governing agency that oversees these marketing terms at all. And so they're used everywhere on anything because anyone can, And so
There's no FDA approval for any of that, is there?
no.
Yeah. Okay.
Not at all. I don't even know if you could get FDA approval for that, but it's kind of like dermatologist tested. Do you know how you get that?
It's like supplements.
Yes.
It's the same thing as supplements.
Totally.
I mean, supplements are not FDA regulated. They're not. There's testing and there's testing. And so who's testing it and how reliable of it is, and if they're saying that it's tested, then it means that for purposes of my marketing, it's tested.
Yeah. Totally. It means one dermatologist put it on their skin and that's it. Or medical grade. That's my new favorite one. It's like medical grade's no different than any other over-the-counter product, but it's a way to market to get you to believe certain things about it. So I just kind of encourage clients to, know what these terms mean and don't believe the hype necessarily.
Read the label.
Read the label, yeah. So on our website, we do have our pore clogging ingredient list, which is very long. And most of the ingredients that are pore cloggers are not ones that you would recognize. Yes, there are oils and things like that, of course, but a lot of them are things that are used more as like stabilizers or pH balancers, oh God, now I'm going to draw a blank, but there's one that has been so popular lately in makeup, and it made me crazy because it was in like my favorite foundation, or it wasn't in my favorite foundation, and then they put it in. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? It's so annoying. It's polyglycerol for isosterate, and so yeah, like that'll make you go cross-eyed for sure. So we have that on the website as well as a resource for people.
Polyglycerol for isosterate.
Yep.
Is that what you said? Okay.
Yep.
Good, babe.
Yeah, good job.
Got it.
You should be a chemist.
I don't
That's
know.
amazing.
I did that in college. I'm good to go.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. So topical is really, really important. Foods are really, really important. The top ones that are triggering to acne would be dairy and soy. So all forms of dairy and soy. Also peanuts and peanut butter. Eggs can be a trigger for those who are sensitive for sure, but they are, I'm noticing more and more how much they are actually impacting the skin. And then we want to be aware of like supplements as well. So a big one that is in the fitness world would be like whey protein for sure. Soy protein would be another one, of course. And then supplements like creatine. Creatine increases testosterone levels. We just talked about testosterone, and that cannot be in someone's favor all of the time. So that is another one, as well as biotin. So biotin is kind of known as like the hair, skin, and nails vitamin, but it's in everything these days. It's unbelievable. And like for no purpose. We're not a biotin deficient society. It's kind of crazy, actually. But if you're acne prone, it's like the devil incarnate for sure. So
I didn't know that one.
oh God, it's wild. And so, we talked about topical foods, supplements, also hormones like we talked about, but birth control can also be a trigger. Different forms of them can be a trigger. This one's a little tricky just because it's, you have to talk to your doctor about like what is best for your health versus like this one's acne safe. But typically it's the low dose, low estrogen forms of birth control, the progestin only forms that are like when people are breastfeeding, the IUDs, all of those are the ones that are the triggering forms.
Interesting.
So, which is super frustrating, I know, but I just like people to be armed and dangerous again, like knowing what your triggers are is everything. Yeah. And then the last thing that we talked a lot about in the last podcast was sweat. Sweat's a major acne trigger because sweat is like acne bacteria's food source. And also it creates inflammation in the skin, and also it creates Well, the inflammation, but also irritation, because salt is really irritating to the skin. So it's kind of this like trifecta. So especially if you're super active and working out a lot, you want to make sure that you do a post-workout routine after you're done with your workout, ideally within 5 minutes after your workout. So that would just be cleansing, toning, moisturizing, be on your way. Or even just cleansing and moisturizing. If you wanna
Perfect. So there's one thing I was thinking about because I'm really bad about cleaning my makeup brushes.
yeah.
Is that something else that you tell people they need to make sure they're doing?
Yes, and I'm not always the best at it myself, but I try to be. But yeah, because the makeup brushes. Now, typically you are putting makeup on clean skin, so it's like the bacteria issue is not as big a deal. It's more like oxidized makeup and things. It's just grime, just dirt in general. You know what I mean? It's just not ideal.
I feel like my brushes are at that point.
Yeah, totally.
They are.
Totally.
Hey.
Well, you got me on the sunscreen. I'm just telling you, your makeup brushes need to be clean, and I'll probably end up cleaning them. So
I did find this like super amazing makeup brush cleaner on Amazon. It's like this like thing where you stick it in and it spins it really fast into this like dish
Ooh.
and it dries it instantly. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is incredible.
Oh, I'm so glad I want
I'll send
that.
you the link to it.
I know you do. I'm already writing it
Oh,
down.
it's so good.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's so good.
Thanks,
And it's
Emme.
kind of fun. So
Costing
yeah.
me money.
Well, I think it's super cheap. So it's great.
It's good.
It's like,
It
it's
doesn't-
random.
Well, at the end of the day, it goes in with this thing of what are you willing to invest in?
It's
So
cheaper
you
than
think
buying
it's
new
your health.
brushes.
Yeah, there you
True.
go.
The brushes aren't cheap, so
No, they're not.
you got to take care of them.
Oh, they are not. No, I know. We have bought some of those that are very pricey. I have a question for you.
Yes.
And I want to be careful with this question,
Okay.
but I do think it's an important one, which
Okay.
is, and I'm not asking for medical opinion, so everybody
Yes.
put down your phones or whatever you got up. I
Don't
want
put
to
down your
know.
phone, you're listening to the podcast.
That's right. Okay, so put down your red flags, whatever, your button. What's your thought on the medications for acne?
Oh, such a good question. So, I'm not a doctor. And so, you should always talk to your doctor about these types of things. But I'm not a fan, and I'm guessing you're talking about Accutane and antibiotics.
Yes.
So I'm not
And even spironolactone
Yep.
and yeah,
spironolactone or aldactone,
Yeah.
yeah. So not a big fan because these are temporary Band-Aids. So the way that Accutane works, I'm so glad we went over how acne forms, because do you remember how I told you that oil is the acne bacteria's food source? So what Accutane does is it's a very high dose of vitamin A. The reason it's kind of controversial is because it's such a high dose that it's like too much vitamin. It's a fat soluble vitamin, so too much of it can cause toxicity.
damage.
It's like not good for you. So they have to kind of be careful with the dosage. But what it does to your oil glands is it shuts them off. So now you've taken away your bacteria's food source. So guess what? The skin is going to start to clear. But has it done anything
starts to
for?
dry.
Yeah, very dry. Oh my God, so dry. And then on top of it, the potential side effects. And I've had a lot of clients over the years who've unfortunately had some pretty serious ones from it. So I'm just not a fan, especially since I know we can clear acne without it.
Right.
But with that said, it's done nothing for the genetic defect. It's done nothing to change the fact that the skin hypersheds those dead skin cells. So it's usually about like 9 months to the day that they stop the course of Accutane, the oil glands turn back on, the acne comes back, generally speaking. And it usually comes back with a vengeance. And the only time that this isn't true is if somebody had gone through that die out phase. So a lot of times I'll see this in boys where now they're at the age where they would have naturally gone through the die out phase. Typically, I do not see this with girls or women. And then also typically someone who's done a course of Accutane has done multiple courses because it comes back. So it's a temporary Band-Aid. In that sense. Antibiotics, kind of the same thing. We are killing the acne-causing bacteria, again, doing nothing for the genetic defect or the hypershedding of the pores. So, while somebody's on that, they may be clear, but you should not be on antibiotics long-term, and not to mention what it does to gut health, because that's one thing we didn't touch on is that we are definitely seeing more and more how gut health impacts the skin, especially acne. Like it's intense. So you know how like there's the gut brain axis. We're also noticing now there's the gut skin axis, and the pathways of that are just like it impacts it way more than we know. So
Well, what you're saying, and we were having this discussion the other night, in fact, about it, the genetic aspect is so interesting, and we've mapped the human genome, and all this, and it's great that we have this understanding. But it's not the gene itself; it's the expression of that gene.
Yep.
And so that's why I love that your approach is talking about the triggers for it. So you may disable the expression of that gene, but if you have not removed the triggers, that gene's not going away.
No.
So if you then eliminate that nullifier for the gene expression, but you do it for a temporary amount of time, and then you reintroduce it, it's like without addressing the triggers, then that gene's still going to express itself the way that it was before.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. And I have a lot of clients that come to me, maybe they're on Accutane or maybe they're on antibiotics, and like, I will never turn anyone away. But what I will tell them is like, great, let's get you set up for success so that when you come off of these things, then, you're not going to have that rebound effect.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. And so when it comes to like spironolactone, that's a testosterone inhibitor. So if you kind of recall how we talked about testosterone converting to DHT, what the spironolactone is doing is inhibiting that part. But again, this one's kind of crazy making because it also lowers your blood pressure. So if people don't know, and it affects potassium levels. So people are not aware of this, and they are already prone to low blood pressure or fainting or things like that. It can impact them greatly. And so nobody I know that I've heard lately has ever been tested to be given spironolactone, which, is kind of wild to me, but
Right. I've had many people prescribed it, and they've never tested blood pressure ahead of time or anything like that. So, and I've seen pretty high doses, which, I've had people come to me on these for acne. And, it's always that question of like, okay, they keep upping and upping. I've seen people on 100 to 200 milligrams.
Totally.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So again, for that, it's like, okay, well, if we're taking care of the hormonal component, if we're not having that testosterone convert to DHT, but we're not taking care of the rest of this stuff, then it really is not going to be
It's a Band-Aid.
Yeah, it's not a long-term solution. So,
and the other thing I think of with that one in particular is since it's a diuretic, that we're then dehydrating the skin. So specifically about the skin, I'm sure taking a diuretic on a daily basis is probably not going to give you the best.
Probably not.
Skin.
Well, if you turned into the first episode and you heard the importance of a moisturizer
and hydration,
if you are doing the things that are contrary to having a moisturizer or its impact of you, that just doesn't add up.
Right.
Yeah. No, totally.
So it's a Band-Aid.
It is. And here's the thing. Like, is there a time and a place for everything? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, I had a teen boy client, and he was doing sports, and it's like, that's the hardest time to treat a male client. And so, and it was really affecting his self-esteem. So during sports, when he had to wear the chin strap and all the things, his mom wanted him to go on a course of antibiotics. Totally fine with that. Let's just be, on the same page that it's for a short period of time. And then, we'll get back on track with everything, so again,
time and place for everything.
I
Although
meet people where they're at.
I do wonder about that, and I don't want to, go on conspiracy theories because it's really not that. But I do think that one of the issues is we have with a lot of the antibiotics is their reduced efficacy over time, which you can actually assess through a GI map, but is because they have been overprescribed and not prescribed for the right thing. So I would give this caution, and Emme, I think you would agree with this, is that, look, this is not medical advice. We're not saying don't consult with your doctor. We're not saying avoid your doctor. We are not saying that at all.
Totally.
What we are saying is just be informed with your choices and ask questions. Most physicians they should be wanting you to ask questions.
Totally.
So if they're talking about L-dactone, spironolactone, hey doc, maybe we should check my blood pressure before we do this.
Yeah.
Just having that piece of information, or are there any contraindications for this? Are there anything? What are the risk factors before you get those prescriptions? Which I don't think a lot of people ask. And this is no slight on them. I think they are looking for an answer.
Totally.
And the hard part is that I have gotten an allopathy's approach, or Western medicine's approach is you can fix it with a medication.
Yeah.
And because it's a quick hit, it's shorter in duration and one and done, when in fact that may not be the real strategy. And what you're talking about is a longer term investment, a strategy for addressing your skin care over time. And that is the better solution.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But people in our world want the microwave solution.
Totally.
Pop it in, turn it on, and pull it out.
One other thing I would say about the antibiotics that I hear a lot from acne clients is that they'll have a prescription. They'll take it when they have breakouts forming,
but
and then
not-
they stop.
Yeah.
And I warn people all the time. I'm like, you have to follow your doctor's instructions. If
Yep.
you're on it because you'll build up a tolerance or a resistance to it. And that's so dangerous. So, blanket statement, follow your doctor's instructions.
Right.
Yeah.
So you know what the good news is? You were so pumped in this episode that we're out of time.
Oh my God.
I'm
great.
looking at the time and I'm thinking, oh my God, we're just barely starting to have this conversation, and which is great. I mean, that's what I think. That's one of the things that we love is when the energy's so good and we're talking about this stuff, and the time flies by like, oh my God, it's really been that amount of time. So you have done an amazing job.
And I'm going to ask one more question.
Oh, go
before
ahead.
we wrap up. Sorry.
Go.
I just wanted to ask one more question.
Yeah.
So I know sometimes we'll have athletes and maybe they're getting ready for a show and they get like a pimple on a very
On their butt.
inopportune
Yeah.
spot. So like,
Totally.
like something like that. If that kind of situation came up, what would your recommendation be? Because I mean, obviously, like they're going on stage, like they don't want this big blemish on their butt or wherever else it is. Like, what would you like for a spot sort of situation? What do you think?
Wait, are we talking about
I'm laughing because you're like dancing around the fact that they get.
But
this,
it could be
this-
somewhere else. It doesn't have to be on the butt.
But
I mean,
and especially in bikini,
it's on the cheek.
where,
It's just not this cheek.
Yeah,
It's this cheek.
especially in bikini where you are scored on your back pose.
Totally.
And if you have a large blemish there, a Seymour, I'm thinking of Little Shop of Horrors where it just is that little blemish, but it turns out to be a lot bigger than you thought.
That's my question.
I know, but I love it.
Wait, so now I have a question. So are we talking about show day or are we talking about leading up to?
Yes.
Show day?
Both.
Show day makeup, baby. I'm thinking like ice it, makeup, that kind of thing.
Ice it.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
That-
for sure. Ice
I
it.
didn't think about icing
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I'm just thinking the spray tan might be affected at that point though too. So
With ice.
Not if you put the ice in. If you put a barrier between the
Okay,
ice,
fair
and
enough.
is what I'm thinking. So I'm
you
thinking,
don't get it
So
wet.
like if you had an
Yeah.
ice pack on, or an ice pack that you put in a towel or something, just to put some cooling on it. I didn't
Totally.
think about that. Great. That's a great little
Yeah.
hack. But we should have covered
Okay,
this
so
in
say
half.
you're in peak week, you're coming up and you start seeing this thing erupt and you're like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do?
So
What is? What it
I
does.
love that word. No, I'm sorry. That was just making me laugh.
wait, which one?
Use
Erupt?
erupt, yeah.
Well, it is. It's like a
Vesuvius,
volcano.
yeah.
Yes.
It's a volcano.
Totally. I mean, I would say like for me, for example, because I'll get back acne and things like that. So after I rinse conditioner out of my hair, or like the last thing before I get out of the shower, I use our medicated clear body scrub on the areas where I'm prone to body acne because it helps to prevent it. But especially like if you have that, you want to start using something that's medicated. And then I would almost say using like a spot treatment on the area, like our pink potion is like a spot treatment that you just dip a Q-tip in and dot it on. But the sooner you can get after it, the quicker that it's going to become less of a problem. And then I think the last thing I'd say about that is less is more, in the sense of like if you mess with it a lot, it's probably going to become bigger. It's hard not to,
But no, I mean, that's important.
That was the question I was going to ask you, because I do think there's that tendency to want to squeeze it or mess
Yeah.
around with it and everything, and just
I think so we almost need like examples of it where I'd be like, pop it, don't pop it. It's like some, yeah, you could, some I wouldn't mess with. It just kind of depends, And then also it's like, if you hang out in sweaty clothes after a workout, you're
inviting it.
Yeah. And a lot of times like booty acne isn't actually acne, it's folliculitis, which is just an irritation of the follicle. And that can be caused by tight pants and moisture and all that
Which is
stuff.
what
Terrible.
we do while we're prepping
Yeah,
for a show.
totally.
Wearing,
So-
workout clothes.
Get out of your wet stuff and, air it out.
I love
baby.
the body language with it.
Yeah. No, I mean this one comes up quite often. So
Oh, yeah,
that's
for sure.
I had to throw in that
No,
question.
I'm glad.
before we wrap it
I'm
up.
super glad you did. I'm almost wishing we would have done that as a fusion act, but that
would have been a good
yeah,
one.
that would have been a good one. Well, maybe I don't know. We'll figure that out. Emme, tell people how to connect with you.
So you can find me on my website, emmediane.com. It's EMMEDIANE. I am Emme Diane everywhere on social media, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Do we have a checkout word from you?
Oh my gosh. Well, now I'm sad if it's over.
I love that. I wouldn't ordinarily like that checkout word, but that one I do because I'm sad too. I'm like, I feel like we just kind of got
I
into
know.
the rhythm and flow, but you gave such amazing nuggets of information to people, and it has been. I mean, my checkout word is honored because it's been an honor to have you here.
Yes. Thank you for sharing your time with us. Means a lot.
And tune in for a fusion hack that will follow on the Thursday with Emme. And remember the 3 B's.
Be good to yourself.
Oh, be good to each other. And be safe. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, leave your reviews. And thank you so much for tuning in. And we're sending you all lots of love. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to FitBody Lifestyle. We hope today's episode has left you feeling motivated and equipped to tackle your fitness goals, business challenges, and the daily dance of life. Remember to value progress over perfection. Life's tough enough alone. Find the chosen family around you to help you along the way.
If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite streaming platform. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at FitBodyFusion.